Hello, this is wmpyr. I was recently asked a question about which tomahawk do I recommend for combat purposes. And that's really hard for me to answer. For one thing, this is the only tomahawk that I own. So it's not like I have a whole bunch that I can compare with and tell you for certain, I think this is the best buy right here. Go for this one. I can't say that for certain. Thanks to Great Bear 1982, I was able to acquire this, and this is actually my first tomahawk, and it has worked really good for me personally. He wanted to send me a larger one, and I specifically asked him for this one, which is the smaller, shorter version. I did go to the store, and I felt the larger one, which was encased in a plastic bubble, and so I didn't get a full feel of it, but it did feel a little bit too heavy for me. For my purposes, my goal is to apply as much of my stick fighting skills as possible from Filipino martial arts to this thing. And if it gets too heavy, I am a smaller guy, so if it gets too heavy, the more it's going to limit me in the number of techniques that I can use. So for me personally, this has worked out great. Now, is this for combat purposes? Well, in my opinion, I think this is actually... I think it's labeled as a tactical tomahawk, but I do feel that it's kind of like a well-rounded purpose. Like you could use this for like wilderness survival, but you could also use this like for a combat type situation as well. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at right here, the mesh pattern right there, that's for hammering. So the fact that it's for hammering, if it's for combat, you don't really care about that, you know. So I do kind of feel that this has kind of like that utility type purposes as well. I did have to practice with this thing quite a bit, and I still do, and I really enjoy it because it is so different from an Eskrima stick. You know, the weight, the balance in your hand and stuff like that. Before this, I was actually using this guy right here, which is my Sogfari machete, and this guy... some people were kind enough to point out to me on YouTube that this is the proper way to put it into the sheath, which I didn't know, and now it works a lot better. But anyway, this is much easier to transfer Eskrima stick skills to this guy. It flows, no problem. With this, it was a little bit harder just because like you have to get used to this area. It's a little bit dangerous to the user if you don't know what you're doing, and if you are swinging it around like an Eskrima stick, it's definitely something you got to get used to. And then this area too, it protrudes, and then the weight distribution is very different from an Eskrima stick. Now, as far as combat tomahawks go, right now I'm looking online, and from the same brand, from SOG, I see the SOG Voodoo Hawk. I'm looking at it right now on my browser, and it looks larger than this. The blade definitely looks larger, even if the handle length is the same and the handle weight and the handle design is pretty much similar. It looks pretty similar, but even if that's similar, the blade does look larger. And also at the end of the pommel, like this one, this is the pommel right here. On that one, it has like a knob attached for some heavy-duty striking purposes, which I would assume would also give extra weight. And then on top of that, if you look at the blade of the Voodoo Hawk, there is no holes like this right here. Now this hole, I could put my finger through there, and you know that's fine and everything, like for more finer work, I guess. But I think really the benefit there is it lightens the load a little bit, and so I would assume that the Voodoo Hawk is going to be quite a bit heavier. And that may work for some people. I haven't personally tried it, so I might still be able to get away with it and still be able to do a lot of the Eskrima type movements with it, no problem. But then again, it might be a little too heavy for me. I don't know. I'd have to try it. Looking at it, the blade shape does look somewhat different from this guy. Like this one slightly comes up right here. Okay, there's a slight angle. Whereas I'm looking at the Voodoo Hawk, and it almost looks like it's just straight, or it might even go down just a tiny bit. And then the big difference is on the bottom right here, it really points down. So you could do stabbing this way that looks absolutely vicious on the Voodoo Hawk. that may or may not be a good thing. If you're confident that you have a good balance and you're strong, that you're going to hook someone like that and you can pull them in. But if not, that could also backfire on you. If they rip and try to run away or something and it gets caught on clothing or something, that can also get pried out of your hand and you just gave them a weapon. So, you know, that just depends on your style and stuff like that. With this, I kind of feel like maybe, once again, they went more for utilitarian purposes, and they wanted to avoid this getting caught too much. All right, so it's rounded. So I think if you don't, it can catch. You see, as you can see, it can catch. But if you don't want it to, it can slip off, no problem. So I think that's another major difference. Whereas that one is pretty much you hook, and then hopefully you have another weapon in your hand, maybe a blade, a knife or something. You hook them and you finish them. I mean, that's what the Voodoo Hawk looks like to me. Or you hooked them and then you just repeatedly finish them off that way. It looks like it is totally for combat. There's also some serrations on this area right here that I can see on the Voodoo Hawk. And I believe that's once you hook them, you don't want them to get away. So you really, really want to hook them with that weapon. And there's some serrations back here as well. And the point might be sharper looking on the Voodoo Hawk. This one, it is pointy, but it's not like a blade or anything. If you can see, there is no edge on there, but it is pointy. And this, I have pierced pumpkins with this, no problem. I mean, it just goes through it like butter. So this is still very, very formidable. But yeah, if you're looking for something that's more combat version than this, then it looks to me like the Voodoo Hawk would be the way to go. Now, how is it compared to other tomahawks and stuff? You're asking the wrong guy, especially since I only have this guy. But I hope that helps a little bit. And thank you for watching. Take care, folks.